Welcome, everyone, to this briefing brought to you by the Israel Defense and Security Forum, IDSF. I'm joined today by Jennifer Teale, who is a researcher at the David Institute. Jennifer, thank you so much for sitting with me today.
Thank you for having me.
Jennifer, we have something very important to discuss because, as we know here in Israel, there's this tension between complete victory in Gaza and other fronts and diplomatic relations with countries around the world. Israel wants peace deals with countries, either new countries or to build and sustain current peace deals. And the thought almost is the stronger the push for military success within Israel, the more it can shatter or impact these broader peace deals. So it's a tension in Israel. We speak about it a lot on these briefings. So I thought it would be valuable to explore a current peace deal that Israel has, which is an area of expertise that you certainly have. You wrote a paper about this, and we're going to share that paper, which is Jordan. Israel has had peace with Jordan for many, many decades now. Can Jordan tell us anything about what we can expect from peace deals, how they operate, what they do for Israel? So let's jump in. Jennifer, what can you tell us? We don't really think about Jordan so much. You think it's a stable agreement, not really much of a threat. But what is the current status of the peace that Israel has with Jordan?
Yeah, so Israel-Jordan relations offer perhaps one of the clearest lenses for understanding Middle Eastern stability. The peace treaty has indeed endured for decades, yet the relationship itself is far more complex. Jordan plays a crucial stabilizing role. It manages refugee flows, absorbs regional shocks that could spill into Israel. It supports regional balance. And at present, Jordan hosts around 1.3 million Syrians in total. But that in itself places considerable strain on its own economy and its domestic security. At the same time, the two countries still cooperate practically on water and energy, for example. Jordan imports natural gas from Israel, which supplies a substantial share of its gas imports. So this is not automatic peace, it's more managed peace built through active, ongoing coordination, we hope. So, to understand that balance, to my mind, it helps to begin, as you said, to look at the historical and institutional foundations of the relationship, perhaps.
Okay, so great. So let's talk
Mhm.
about that if we can. What would you say are really those historical context that allows this relationship to be successful and continue?
Well, the treaty provides the legal baseline, but what really sustains the relationship is the everyday cooperation, the intelligence sharing, border coordination, joint water and energy work. Jordan imports Israeli gas, coordinates with Israel over water bodies like the Yarmouk River. And in 2025, so this year, they initiated a major desalination and conveyance initiative to bolster that water security. Yet there are still significant constraints. Jordan relies on over $1 billion annually in foreign assistance and concessional finance. It faces severe water scarcity pressures itself, and its government must take into account sensitive public opinion, especially with regards to Jerusalem and Palestinian issues. So, sustainability here is not self sustaining, it has to be continually managed and reinforced.
And can you just give us a little bit of an insight about the feelings on the streets in Jordan? The tribal, the religious, kind of the generational structures in Jordan and how that impacts the peace agreement.
Absolutely. So, Jordan's political fabric is multi layered. Tribal affiliations provide local legitimacy. The monarchy remains the core stabilizing institution, and younger Jordanians, especially those with Palestinian heritage, are much more vocal on regional justice issues. So the government must therefore tread carefully, prioritising stability while also signalling solidarity with public concerns. And that's partly why cooperation with Israel often takes place quietly rather than in the spotlight. And these domestic dynamics directly feed into Jordan's regional security strategies.
So, with the ongoing war in Israel, the way Israel is operating in Gaza, what it's done in Syria, and certainly to Iran, how has that influenced the feelings on the streets in Jordan? Is it eroding and cracking that peace because it's perceived as a holy war, Jews against Muslims, and therefore the people within Jordan have had enough with us?
Yeah, they have a very direct impact. So the escalations in Gaza raise tensions further and prompt Jordan to further tighten border and security coordination. The war in Syria has generated these refugee flows and spillover risks. Iran, as they're expanding proxy networks in the region, add yet another layer onto this complexity. So, for example, in February this year, Jordan strengthened its northern border security with Syria after another series of smuggling incidents, just highlighting again how exposed it can be. Coordination with Israel helps both countries manage these threats and maintain internal stability.
So, almost all day, every day, people send me questions about what they want to know about in Israel and different threats that people think they've uncovered. And very rarely does anyone say, "Hey, what about Jordan? We're afraid that there's going to be an invasion from Jordan, that the eastern front of Israel is its greatest vulnerability." I very rarely hear that. So how would you address that question? Are there vulnerabilities and flashpoints that we're completely underestimating with regards to Jordan?
Well, public opinion is still a major constraint. So, governments themselves, whilst they may cooperate behind closed doors, there's visible moves towards Israel, and those can trigger backlash even further. And as you mentioned earlier, yes, hotspots like Jerusalem's holy sites, these refugee surges, and sudden escalations in terms of Gaza. Yes, the incident at the Allenby Bridge, the King Hussein Bridge, in September of this year, when two Israelis were killed. This, again, is another stark reminder of how quickly tensions can flare at this zone. But even amid these challenges, I think there are still some real opportunities that both sides can build on.
And it is important to note that Israel is now investing $1.7 billion in its
Mm.
border security with Jordan. So there is someone out there in Israel that is concerned with what's potentially happening. But what would you say are the opportunities that present themselves with regards to the Israel and Jordan peace deal? Is there not just a concern that it'll be eroded, but is there possibility that it'll be strengthened through everything that's happening with the Abraham Accords?
Yeah, I think that security coordination is still one of the strongest pillars between Israel and Jordan. So, for example, intelligence sharing, but border management, especially, both work reliably to an extent right now. economically, uh, these initiatives, large scale initiatives, such as the Aqaba Amman desalination project and gas imports from Israel, these still present some very tangible benefits to my mind. Politically, low profile coordination like mediation, crisis management, and some more institutional linkages, discrete linkages. They help to build trust, to my mind, without over inflaming public sentiment and sensitivities. And I think that these present the more realistic, high impact opportunities between Israel and Jordan.
Thank you, Jennifer. So you just published this article on a lot of what we're discussing. We're going to share that with all of our viewers. So if you're not signed up to our email, make sure to sign up for our email that we send out after these briefings so that you can, in fact, get the follow-up material. Jennifer, in your research of what's happening right now in Jordan, are there any findings, anything counterintuitive that would pique our interest that you can share with us?
I suppose one particularly surprising insight for me is how pragmatic Jordan's leadership is in reality. So, on the surface, official statements might appear cautious, but behind the scenes, decisions are often uh, decisive. For example, the 2014 Gaza escalation, Jordan itself very quietly coordinated with Israel on security matters, but publicly they were attempting to emphasize neutrality. And that pattern, quiet action behind the scenes with careful messaging, is very typical, I find.
And if we kind of look at a strategic outlook and kind of broader implications of what's happening in Jordan and on the Jordan-Israel border, how do you see this relationship developing over the next decade? Meaning Israel is hardening its border with Jordan. Israel is gaining other regional partners, and the more partners that we have, presumably the less valuable each one is, especially the weakest link therein. What does all of this mean for Jordan in 10 years from now?
I believe that government level cooperation is likely to remain pretty solid, especially in terms of security. But this arrangement will indeed face tests, domestic unrest being a factor, developments in the Israeli Palestinian arena, and then given the broader shifts in the regional balance, I think they can all apply pressure in the next 10 years or so. Um, and I believe that Jordan will therefore need to keep on calibrating its security interests to line up with public sentiment for that reason.
Okay, so given all of this, okay, that's with regards to Jordan and the future of Jordan. So, what are the key takeaways? What are the lessons we can learn from this peace deal, as unstable as it may be, with Jordan to guide other peace deals, other relationships Israel needs to cultivate in the region?
Well, frankly, I think that one of the biggest lessons has to be that treaties alone do not guarantee stability. Uh, Durable cooperation depends on also on the internal politics of each country, the regional environment, the institutions that link them. But if you overlook any of these elements, then the partnership becomes fragile.
Jennifer Teale from the David Institute. Thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. Thank you for bringing Jordan back to our attention so that we are well informed about all of the threats out there. Thank you to all of our viewers and supporters for tuning into this briefing. We will be back with you tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. here in Israel. Until then, stay safe, stay strong. Take care, everyone.